All right, welcome everyone. This is the Fire Social Worker Show. My name is Joey. I'm a certified financial social worker, and I am just really excited to be part of this show. I'm excited to introduce you guys to some financial social workers doing some great things. Been doing a lot of things in the background, working on some things. I got the Military Influencer Conference coming up, which I'm really excited about. Part of the MBR Military Broadcast Radio platform. So that's a really exciting thing that we're working on. Got a few things going on, few things going on in the fire, but really, I just wanted to. I'm really excited to introduce my guest. He is a fellow social worker, financial social worker. He's got a lot of cool things going on right now. His name is Ken Peeples. We'll go ahead and bring him onto the stage. Ken, hey, how's
Hey,
it going, man?
hey, Joey. It's good to be on stage with you. How are you?
Yeah, it's good, man. I'm doing good. Just excited to talk to another finance nerd, also a social worker. So this is kind of like the beauty of the internet. Normally it's really hard to find people that want to talk to nerd out about finances, but I'm glad you agreed
Right.
to jump on. We actually were introduced by the AI social worker. So I wanted to ask you real quick, how did you know Dr. Badillo Diaz?
So I reached out to Dr. Badillo Diaz because I actually heard her on a podcast called Social Work Rise. And I
Okay.
think I don't remember the host's name. I don't want to say the wrong name.
Catherine
And
Moore.
she encouraged Dr. Moore. Yes. She encouraged people to reach out to her on LinkedIn during the episode. And I've just found everything she had to say to be so poignant and so impactful. Just I never thought about the use cases for AI, and I never even thought about the intersection of AI and social work before until I listened to that podcast. So it was an awesome listen. So I encourage everybody to check it out. But that's how we met,
Yeah.
and then I reached out to you because she said, you know what, you're into finance, and she saw a lot of the workshops that I do around personal finance. She said, you need to reach out to Joey, and so that's what I did, and here I am.
Here we are. Here we are. Yeah, that's cool. It's just the really cool thing about networking nowadays. Like it's almost like digital networking. Like we're not in person, but we still we're connected. So that's really cool. And we can talk about some AI stuff later if you want to. But first, I kind of wanted to have the audience get to know you a little bit more. Maybe tell us a little bit about your journey
Sure.
into social work, and then maybe how you got into becoming a financial social worker.
Okay, so when I tell the story about how I got into social work, I always preface social work chose me. I was not intentional going through undergrad or grad school. I was just trying to figure things out, and I just happened to end up here, and I'm so grateful that I did. So I've always been working in human services organizations. So I was working at one place where we did a lot of work with the community with disabilities, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, and like this organization was very instrumental in like doing housing modifications and even like public modifications like curb cuts and things like that. They did a lot of advocacy around that. So my supervisor told me, she was in MSW, and she said, you should look into social work. And I thought about it, and then I realized that Temple, that's where I did my undergraduate studies, had an MSW program where you can go and not matriculate it. So I went in and just part time, and I absolutely loved it. And I said, you know what, this is probably what I should be doing. Now for the piece about financial social work, this happened during the pandemic in 2020. So I'm browsing LinkedIn and I'm doing LinkedIn learning. I didn't have anything else to do. We're all stuck inside. So I'm like, I might as well learn something. And
Yeah.
I'm watching these personal finance courses and investment courses, and they were really good. So I go and see who their instructor is, and the instructor is like, I'm like, wait, pause, what? And so I'm like, I expected the instructor to be an MBA or something like that, something finance or business related.
Mm.
But no, she was a social worker. So I went to her profile. I forget her name. But she was a certified financial social worker. And
Mm.
my mind was blown. I had never heard about this. I never knew this was a
Same.
thing. So I looked
Mhm.
into it, and I found that Okay, good. Yeah. So I looked into it and I found a couple programs. I found there was something in University of Maryland, College Park. They were running a program. It was like, but they weren't offering it regularly. And again, it was during COVID, so it probably is now. But then I found this Center for Financial Social Work, and I know you're certified with them too. And
Mhm.
awesome curriculum. If you're a fire person, you probably know most of that material, but still, it's nice to go through it and to understand like the intersection, like not just personal finance and investing, but also like its intersection with, stress, depression, and things like that. And
Mhm.
then like intergenerational wealth building and things like that. It's very important. And I think social work has a very good dovetails pretty nicely with this, because you're going to have like when it comes to like things like estate planning and things like that, you're going to have some tough conversations. And you know,
Yeah.
it's good to have a social worker in the midst of that. So that was a little long-winded, but that's my story.
No, that was awesome. That was a great segue, or a great introduction. I think I've talked to a few financial social workers now on the podcast, and they all kind of have some similar situations. I think the pandemic really did generate a lot of interest. Maybe so the Center for Financial Social Work has really increased their numbers in the last few years. But as you know, it's been around for 25 years, I think. So it's still new. It's new to
Mhm.
some people, but it's obviously been growing for a while. And yeah, so I appreciate you sharing that story. I was curious, like, you had mentioned the fire community. What got you interested in fire, if you don't mind me asking?
So no, so during the pandemic is actually when I learned about it. So I was always an investor, but I was a passive
Mm,
investor, and most of
mm,
all of my investing was in the stock market. But I was very passive about it. Like I wasn't increasing my 403b as every year like I should have been. I could have put more in there from the beginning. So a lot of it was tracking like the mistakes I made leading up to, once you find out, you're like, wow, I should have been doing this, because you know what they say, time in the market beats timing the market. So I'm like, wow, I
yes.
wasted all that time, but let me start from here and
Hmm.
do the best I can moving forward, right? So during the pandemic is when I really started to get deep into the material. So that's when I started, okay, I'm not going to be a passive investor anymore. That's when I started learning how to trade options. And then I learned about fire, and the 5% rule, and then just 25% in the stock market of your, whatever your fire number is. And I was just like, wow. So you don't necessarily have to like work your whole life if you don't want to. And but what I mean by work is work for somebody else. I don't mean like work as
Hmm.
in, doing things that you're passionate about, that are still lucrative, that you can be paid for, right? So
Right.
that's how I learned about it. So and then I started doing the rounds on all the fire podcasts. So in a way, I'm kind of switching my investing philosophy from the stock market to real estate and more physical assets. That's just my preference, or it's becoming my
Hmm.
preference now. Um, and so I started picking up, podcasts like Bigger Pockets, and then there was a Weekly Juice or something like that, and then there's the fire something, because there's the Fire Social Worker, and there's so many fire themed podcasts out there that I can't even remember off the top of
Right.
my head right now, and I wish I had them queued up, but it doesn't matter. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I deep dived, I started studying, and then it's just like, okay, how can I uh alter my lifestyle now to like go all in on this, so that it's all about delayed gratification.
Mm. Yeah. So what flavor of fire would you say you kind of align with? Are you more do you kind of like lean fire, or are you into the, like what where for those that who are not familiar with the fire movement, there's different flavors of like, lean fire is like, okay, I want to cut my expenses kind of down to the bone and have like a smaller number, a fire number, versus, like fat fire was like, yeah, I want to be a baller, and I want to have all the, millions in the bank, and I can just, basically spend how I want. Or where do you fall on that spectrum?
The funny thing is, I will always look like a lean fire person. So even if I am going on fire, you would never know that. I mean, I could be a millionaire right now. You would never know. Nobody would know.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I'd probably be more of a lean fire person. And I would probably be like I forget the other one. So there's one like a barista fire. I feel like
Hmm.
that's where I'm at right now. Like
Okay.
self-employed, like or not barista fire. It's like the slower pace fire movement where you're still
Coast fire.
part-time in a way. Um
Hmm.
I don't Coast Fire. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Hmm.
But yeah, but Coast Fire is probably more realistic of where I'm at right now because like I have a lot of like big expenses just because I'm dealing with family situation stuff. And so like I can't really go all in on fire right now. So
Right.
because I have
Right.
to handle business. But I'm definitely coasting and I'm definitely working towards my number to get there. And I'm doing it with a blend of I want to do it with a blend of real estate and stock market. I think that's a really good combination.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to diversify, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
And
Well,
crypto
so
too.
yeah, crypto. Okay. I was curious, like with the financial social. Well, let's talk a little bit about. You had mentioned in our earlier message that you have a few projects that you've been working on, and I wanted to highlight them because I'm really curious to see how you've been incorporating, financial social work or just personal finance with that combination of social work and finances. So let's tell me a little bit about credit card wars.
Card Wars is a workshop that I do. So and I'll tell you why I started doing this. So my one of my big how I do my self-care is I like to travel. I like to go to other places. I like to experience new places, new foods, new people, new cultures, and I just love it, right? So that's a very expensive habit. So I do like to travel, and so I would spend a lot of those expenses on credit cards, even if I had the money to pay for the trip, right?
Right.
And so I thought, okay, cool. Because I was trained to use credit cards incorrectly. So my very first credit card, I was at Westchester University, a student. That's my first university I went to. I was on the top floor of my dorm. These people came up to my dorm room, everybody on the sixth floor or the top floor, everybody in the whole dorm, and they knocked on our doors and signed us all up for credit cards. And that's how I got into that. I eventually got out of that, but I still didn't know how to properly use credit cards. So when I later down the line, when I would use credit cards to fund my trips, what I would do is I would just pay half of it off and then just like kind of finance the rest. But then I realized, wow, once I learned that how to use credit cards properly, I was like, wow, so that trip was 879. That flight was $879, but I paid when all was said and done like $1,120 for it. So I paid more for it because I'm paying interest. And that's when I learned about deadbeats and revolvers, right? And I said, you know what? I've been playing this game wrong the whole time. So instead of being a revolver, which is somebody who carries the interest, who pays interest every cycle on their credit card statements, I would be a deadbeat and be totally useless. So my goal was to earn back every cent of interest I ever paid to every credit card company just through rewards, which is i.e. points, cashback, miles, sign up bonuses, and things like that. And I optimize my credit card strategy so that I get at least more than at least 1.5 cash back everything I spend, everywhere I spend, nowhere, no matter where it is. So everything is a discount. And then when you pull those little incremental savings, you can take a whole trip on the whole other side of the planet and not have a care in the world. So I teach people how to do this, and but personal finance is very personal. So everybody's situation is different. So most of this is I give the workshop just to show people, this is how you properly use credit cards. This is what it means to be a revolver versus a deadbeat. And this is how credit card companies make their money. And this is how you avoid being the person stuck in that fee cycle, in that interest rate cycle. And you can just reap all the rewards. You just got to be responsible. You got to be good at tracking, and you just got to be interested in doing it. So the workshop works through all that stuff, but the credit card wars workshop works through all that stuff and introduces people to the concepts. But my coaching I do financial wellness coaching, and that is where we do the credit card. I'll get you set up with a specific strategy depending on what you want to do, but that's all individualized stuff depending on, who the client is.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely curious to tune into that that presentation that you have. Just just because I'm always down to learn. Like there's always something new, some new new policy that comes out, or some new perk or something like that. So it's always good to stay abreast of those things. So so that's really cool. How often do you do those workshops?
So I do them probably like on average, maybe like once or twice a month. I've been dialing back now because I was probably doing like maybe like 3 times a month, maybe like once a week at certain points during the summer, because there's a lot of interest in this. But now that the semester has started in school, and I have a lot of teaching duties, so I can't always be out and do all those fun, because those are community ones that I do. I don't charge for some of this stuff. I do it for the community, but I do also offer it, online for anybody who wants to, check it out and things like that. So really good stuff. It's a lot of fun, especially, I find things to be a lot more interesting when you make it a game. You just gamify it. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's a game. It's just you. It's just PvP. Think of it like that. It's like Fortnite. It's just you versus Chase or Amex, whoever you want to see. And it's just you guys are strategizing and outmaneuvering each other to see, they want you to pay interest. You don't want to pay interest. You want the sign-up bonus. You know what I mean? You want the points and the cash back. So you just make sure you stay in that lane and you just do your, and then, so it's a lot of fun to optimize. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's basically just kind of hacking the system, instead of going with the masses, you kind of go on your own path a little bit, and it is a little bit of a work, and it does take discipline, but it definitely can be done. Yeah. And I'm definitely an advocate for using credit wisely. I mean, that's also part of managing your credit score and just wise fiscal management. So that's the other thing that people don't realize, is that if you don't use your credit, then sometimes you can lose your credit. Like it'll go down because you're not using your credit, so they'll lower your limits, and then suddenly now your credit score is going down, which has been happening a lot. I've been hearing a lot about that lately. But unused dormant accounts, the credit card companies are like, well, we need to pull back some of this credit limits, and then next thing you know, you used to have like I think this happened to me. I looked at one of my cards. It used to be like a $4,000 limit, and then it went down to like $1,000, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay. I'm glad I checked that." So that's a little PSA to definitely check your balances, because sometimes they do. They'll lower your limits sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't. That's never happened to me yet so far, and but I would hate that, because first of all, that'll raise your utilization. Not that we care, because again, we don't pay interest, right? We pay our statement balance every month, but still, it'll lower your utilization even when you do charge things up. So that's not, it's not good to roll back your total credit line, and I don't like that they're doing that like very sneakily. That's not cool.
Yeah. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about project equity. I'm really curious to learn more about this. This sounds really cool.
Okay, so this is really the intersection to social work and financial wellness. So and this project comes out of a personal story for me, because I've experienced financial trauma, but I didn't know we experienced it until a decade later. So I was 16 when my parents divorced, and we lost our house in the process, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now that I know, I know what I know now, and looking back at the life course, like how much that impacted, not just me and my sister and I, but my mom and my father as well, just financially, and just, so, I always wanted to, and then I've heard a lot of other sad stories. Like I said, I did housing counseling for a long time, right after undergrad, for 2 years. And, I saw 2 cases that really really upset me. It was it was a older lady. She was probably in her 60s, and she was widowed. Only had 4 years left on her mortgage, and somebody approached her with a loan modification. You'll pay so much more, so much less, and this and that. Same thing happened to another guy. And this guy, he used to work. He worked like uh, uh, somewhere outside in the suburbs, not in the city, but he still came into the city when to work, and he said somebody convinced him to get a loan modification. He had his wife who was very sickly at the time, and like you know near hospice. I'm like, why would you put them in this situation? And
Mm.
so he came to me as well for counseling, and this is when I would do home loan modifications with Harrisburg, like with the state. Um, I think they were called HEMAPs, if I remember correctly. And so we did that work with them, and it's just like, this is a systemic issue. You know what I mean? Like, these people are being
Hmm.
preyed upon, and this is during like 2007, 2008, during the the housing crisis. So they were good in their loans for 10 a year. One, the other one was 18 months, but then that balloon payment hit, and they could not keep up with it. So what does this have to do with project equity? So that's my personal experience, like my personal experience, and some work experience, right? But we're also having an issue here in the city, Philadelphia, where even on my block now, where I live on my street, there are two developments being built, 2 3-story apartments. Now this is a street, just nothing but homeowners. It's been this way forever, for as long as I've been here, or since as long as I've known. And so everybody's property taxes are going to increase as a result. So there are a lot
Hmm.
of people who are very vulnerable, who are very sensitive to any type of increase like that. But however, there are a lot of programs here in the city that people just don't know about, that they need to get tapped into. So that's where we play that role, to be the liaison. So all we want to do is just like combine proactive intervention, community engagement, and just promote financial literacy. And to keep people, the most vulnerable people, black and brown individuals, our indigenous people, women with children, families, our elderly people, because
Hmm.
they're at very high risk of being foreclosed on, a lot of them, and they're on a fixed income, and so somebody's got to do something about this. So really, I feel like there's what's missing is connecting people to these resources. Some people are doing it, but they're not reaching a lot of people, and it's very hard, especially to reach like a lot of the elderly, our elderly neighbors, because they're not necessarily on social media like that. If they see a
Hmm.
flyer, they're not going to scan a QR code or anything like that. So that's the hardest population I've been it's been really challenging to get them, because I really want to target them, because they're probably the most vulnerable. But also, we go into estate planning. I'm a big fan of revocable living trusts. Tell people about a will, the importance of passing things down in inheritance, and like passing it down to the next generation and things like that. So there's another spinoff to this project equity workshop, which is it's called "Don't Sell Grandmom's House," right? Keep it in the family. So we talk about a lot of that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's a workshop. It's very like family oriented, like for older adults. But like we really talk about it, and we get into the history of redlining. That's how we start off. We talk about how it's
Hmm.
not a even playing field, and how there's still predatory lending practices still happening for minorities in this country. And so we talk about that history, and we talk about, okay, what do we do about it? What can we do on our end to play defense and keep everybody who owns their home in their home, and if they're having trouble with their property taxes or even mortgage foreclosures, we can get them connected to the resources they need to get them out of that hole, and back to where they need to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Like an awesome program, it sounds like, and it really, from what I'm learning, I'm still a relatively new social worker, but what I'm learning about social work is we're the connectors. We connect people and resources. Like whether it's at the macro scale or the meso micro scale. And it sounds like what you're trying to do is you're trying to connect these people who need the resources with the actual resources, which can be a very daunting task, as any social worker can tell you. Like getting them to the door of the building that they need to like fill out the forms is just half the battle. Sometimes they actually have to do the forms and do all the legwork and everything, which is what a lot of times where people get into, like they get frustrated and they don't follow through. So Yeah, like has there been any good success stories in the city of Philadelphia where you've seen like like a push for connecting residents and community members with the right resources?
Yes, so there are a lot of great organizations here in Philly, grassroots organizations that are doing fantastic work, connecting the whole community with resources and like, you know, with each other. We sort of do mutual aid with one another. You know what I mean? So I think we can only rely on each other. You know, and another point about the Project Equity, so the foreclosure prevention clinics, it's 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 more about promoting also financial wellness and like just like fostering a very supportive ecosystem, not just for homeowners but just for the community as a whole. you know
Mm,
um no, there's nothing more disruptive to families, or like think about people becoming housed or having to move because they're of an eviction or a foreclosure or something like that. How much the kids their routine is disrupted. They might have to go to a new school, they might have to go to a new daycare, new friends, move to another part of town, or move to a new town. It's a lot of stress on the parents, it's a lot of stress on everybody involved. So you know
mm,
we have a very flourishing housing landscape, and but the thing is, it's the thing here is like it's more of like a re, ordinary residents versus investors. But in terms of victories, I'm really glad to say that our city council has been doing a really good job. It's particularly one of our city council members who represents West Philly and Southwest Philly for you know bringing about a lot of these programs. So there's a lot of these programs wouldn't exist. I couldn't do this work and connect these folks to these programs, or I wouldn't be able to at least like and to get to another point. Sorry, I just had a quick sidebar, just something to think about, something I thought about. Um, you were talking about the paperwork angle. So every time I give this workshop, people have different needs, and so they need to talk to me about different things. So for one person, it might be like, okay, my husband's disabled, we need a modification, a home modification, like what resources are available to the city. For another person, it's like, yes, my taxes are too high, I cannot do it, how can I mitigate this, I don't want to lose my home. For somebody else, it might be something totally different. So for each person, I have to individualize things, but I'm giving a group presentation. So
mm,
at some point, and like I said, I'm doing this through my organization. So we're not a nonprofit yet, but it's called Dynamic Justice Collective. And soon, hopefully, we'll be a nonprofit and we'll, be able to get funding and things like that. But right now we don't have funding, so we do this on our own. But like I said, this is a passion project for me. This is something
mm,
that this is an issue that impacted me as a child, and well, more so as an adult too, because
mm.
this is now I'm more aware of it. I'm more aware
Yeah,
of how much it negatively impacted me as a child, which I wasn't aware of it then, or maybe I was just disassociated,
right.
because parents just divorced, got through a divorce, right? So yeah, like I said, it's a passion project. It's something that I will continue to do. I want to expand it, and I want to, maybe it's a model that can reach other folks in other cities. You can change it up and make it tailor it specific to your local community. But it's just a workshop. It's Philly specific, but the things that aren't Philly specific is redlining is something every community across the country has experienced, and also estate
Mm.
planning is something that everybody should be doing across the country. So those parts are not zip code specific. So those pieces can go anywhere, and I encourage everybody to do this type of work and help the community in this way.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love that you're really getting into the community. I'm still new to the Memphis area. I have been reaching out to different agencies to try to do basically what you're doing and really get into the community aspect of financial literacy. I did reach out to another financial social worker based out of St. Louis. I'm still hoping to get her on the show at some point. Her name is Alnita Smiley. She's doing some great things. She told me about a program where they basically get hopeful home buyers in the underserved communities, and they're basically going
Mhm.
through the whole step from cradle to grave of like, okay, this is what you got to do to get a house. And like they go from like getting credit repair,
Mm.
getting doing your credit like from the ground floor, And as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, every place needs that type of program. And I was just like, man, why aren't more communities doing things like this? But it does kind of come back to financial literacy,
Right.
and I know you mentioned that before. Financial literacy is should be a required subject in school, I feel like. Um, but it's also something that I've been trying to
Hmm.
advocate for on my platform of just having conversations about money, like just open dialogue with peers, with friends and family members. We're just really awkward and uncomfortable talking about money, and I'm just hoping that with conversations like this and hopefully the conversations that you're having can really help foster that sense of like, okay, we're all dealing with financial problems. Everyone has financial problems. That's a universal thing for the most part. So how can we just through dialogue and normalization and reducing the stigma around like debt and things like that, why can't we change the narrative around talking about money? So I appreciate what you're doing, and hopefully that we can also have
Hmm.
more substantive discussions like this in the future with people that we care about.
Absolutely. And I take a very cynical view for why personal finance is not taught in schools. I think there's just no intention. I think folks want you in debt. They want you paying, like, it's a it, we it's this is we live in a neoliberal world where, capitalist world where, people create markets and want you to pay rent some way somehow. They will create a market so that somebody can make money. So I think when you have people coming out of school not knowing how to write a check, not even knowing things like interest or debt. Like, I didn't know anything about student loan debt or debt period. I understood that, okay, I owe you $1, I'll pay you back on the schoolyard. Okay, cool. But
Hmm.
student loan debt is a whole nother beast, and we're not educated about that at all. So, and I think that's by design. I think the system is working
Mm-hmm.
as intended. And I know you want people to be revolvers. I mean, the banks sure do, right? I mean, they want you to pay interest, you know what I mean? And so, like, there's no incentive to really have a true long-term sustainable solution to student loan debt. Like, come on, so it's like I'm very cynical about that. So that's why also feel very empowered, because I've come to grips that nobody's coming to save us. It's not the federal government. Nobody's coming to save us. It has to be us that does this work. And it has to be us who go out in the community and educate the people about personal finance, estate planning, and just how to build wealth and live a happy life and be comfortable, and not to
Mm-hmm.
let, because finances is just like I said, it your finances contribute to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's how much, think about how much stress and anxiety, that and depression that you won't have to experience if you didn't have money issues. You know what I mean? Because a lot of our stress, anxiety, and depression is brought on by our personal finances. So I feel like it's part of the health and wellness journey. I really do. It's good for financial wellness is good for your mental health, is good for your physical health for sure. And it's just good for your overall holistic health, in my opinion. So that's why we really need to lean into this. We really need to, like, do what we can to, like, if we need to do research, expand this niche in social work,
Mm-hmm.
because I really want to go all in on it. And I also find, like, you and other folks are very passionate about financial social work, and I love that. I love it.
Yeah, that it's just one of those, like you said earlier, like that light bulb moment. Like, I became a social worker, and I'm like, I love social work. But then as soon as I saw that financial social work, like I think it was like a presentation. It was just
Yep.
like the heavens lit up, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? I have to do this, because I'd already had a
Right.
passion for personal finance, and like it was just like I can do something with this. Um, and yeah, so like
Right.
speaking of that,
Mm-hmm.
I actually did have an idea that it's been germinating for a while, and I wanted to kind of pick your brain about it, or at least kind of get your perspective on it as a federal financial social worker. So I'm working on a platform that is basically like I'm thinking of it as like BetterHelp meets Uber. So, but for
Mhm.
financial wellness. So I'm basically wanting to build a platform where financial coaches can get on the platform, and then customers can basically get matched up with a financial coach. So the idea is I mean I'm working on building the platform right now as we speak, um, but I guess I haven't really had enough conversations with other, financial social workers about the idea. So I thought you might be a good person to really kind of like, if anything, just brainstorm with me. Like, okay, how could you see this actually working? Could this actually work? And would you theoretically see a market for other coaches wanting to basically do what we're doing, connecting with clients like Uber. You just say, hey, I need a ride to this location. Well, in this situation, it would be, hey, I have this financial situation, and then you have a financial coach or professional that's like, all right, let's do this. I got you. So I don't know. What do you think?
Mhm.
Just give me some feedback. What do you think?
I love the idea. So when you say BetterHelp meets Uber, so I'm thinking like this is like literally a financial therapy practice, but more so coaching. And I think you know what? There's coaching and social working aren't the same thing, but there's a lot of overlap. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like this would be fantastic because I don't think anybody would be able to do the sort of personal finance education and support that a social worker could, just because we come from that biopsychosocial framework and that more holistic framework, looking at the whole person, the whole environment. And so like consider with all those considerations, I think people would have a fantastic experience at this outfit versus like saying going to like a uh getting a person what's those people called, those people that do your finances or whatever, I forget.
Like a financial
um
advisor, CPA,
Financial advisor.
CFP. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So I think the coach could be a supplement as well, or maybe the financial advisor could be a supplement, but depending on how much you're working with. But I think there would be a very big market for that, and I think it would be very successful. And even that's just based on my anecdotal experience before I even kind of launched. So Sacred Realm has only soft launched; it hasn't, fully launched yet. So, and still with the inquiries, it's just like, okay, there is something here, and I think people are really hungry to, and they want to people want to be comfortable, and they just want to learn how. And I think that's where
Right.
this comes in. I think it's a fantastic idea, Joey. I think you should definitely
Okay.
go through with it. It sounds like you already are.
Well, I've been working on it like behind the scenes for a while, and then I've actually been utilizing ChatGPT to kind of like flesh out, and that's why I want to talk to you a little bit about AI too, and this confluence of artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
social work, and finances. And as Dr. Badillo Diaz mentioned, like I'm kind of have like this weird, even like super niche of like finance, social work, and then now artificial intelligence. So I'm really trying to harness and train this artificial intelligence. So I created my own chat GPT to
Mhm.
basically create a virtual financial onboarding assistant. So the way I was envisioning it was that, like whenever you do financial counseling, you got to get all the data. You got to, it's like, all right, well, you got to get, the list of their debts, their assets, their income, all that stuff. So what I was hoping to do, and I've been trying to mess with it, is create that chat GPT that will do it in a conversational way like a chatbot would do, but then also with the underlying
Mhm.
empathetic, compassionate, like, because I'm like teaching it financial social work components as well, so there's an emotional component to it,
Mm.
um, so it's like it's not just like,
Right.
okay, give me your numbers. It's like, okay, where's your stress level right now? Like what is your level of anxiety? So things like that I'm trying to incorporate into be that holistic model of financial social work principles. Um, so yeah, and then okay, so this is the other thing I wanted to see if you what your thoughts on. So what I was hoping to do was to create like a complexity score based off of your financial picture, and then like let's say out of 100, you're based off of your finances, you might be at a 75 out of 100. So that might actually warrant a little bit higher, like maybe a premium subscription, because like that's going to take a lot more work. But if you're just like starting out, you're more worried about financial
Right.
literacy, getting that foundation, then maybe it's like a $20 a month thing. So I was thinking it might be a subscription model, but then again, that kind of goes against a lot of the financial industry, where it's usually like a flat fee kind of hourly rate kind of thing. So I don't know. That's just it's something I've been thinking about, and just curious. What are your thoughts on that?
I like the subscription model that you talked about, and I like the inverse relationship with like you were saying, when you're first starting out, you would probably charge like 20 because you're just trying to learn about personal finance. But as you move up the to the more advanced levels, you pay more, and then you'll be in a better position to pay more by the time you get there anyway. So it makes perfect sense. I like the idea. That sounds great. So I like the subscription model. I'm curious, what is the alternate model? Is, like you said, a flat rate? How would that work?
Well, so the other thing I was thinking about was just basically just creating the platform to where the coach could basically charge their own, like basically charge what they want to charge, and then
Oh,
just like
okay.
Uber, like Uber would it would get a cut from that, basically providing the platform. So yeah, I'm still kind of torn
Got
between
you. That's where the
like
Uber came in. Okay, I was
yeah,
wondering where the
yeah,
Uber piece came in. I'm
hmm
sorry, I didn't get you.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. All
no,
right.
yeah, yeah. Um, But yeah, I mean, does that sound like something you think, especially because I'm thinking about financial social workers and I'm looking at them as like the gig economy, because let's be real, social workers need some extra money sometimes, so they could become certified in financial social work and then get
Right.
on the platform and then start making some extra
Mhm.
cash. That was the other side of this, is that I'm
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
trying to create jobs or create incomes, residual income,
Right.
which is part of the fire thing, is creating them that is
Right.
other sources of income. So that's kind of my bold moonshot vision. So you're the
I
first
like it.
person I've actually like just put it out there for. So
Oh, I'm honored. I'm honored. And yeah, and once this is off the ground, I hope you'll think of me.
oh, absolutely,
Because I
yeah.
would love to, be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like that you're building a community of financial social workers. Like you're the only other financial for social worker I've met besides the people that I see on the like CEU credits for, or the CEU trainings for at the Center for Financial Social Work. So you're the first
Mhm.
one I actually talked to and like actually had an interaction with. So if we can get a whole bunch of other people together and build a community of helpers, oh man, that'd be great. You know,
Well,
that'd
there's
be fantastic.
2,000. I
I
did the
love this
research.
idea,
I asked
Joey.
I asked Rita Wolfson, the founder, or I found out through Rita that there's 2,000, at least as of now, it's 2,000 certified financial social workers out
2000.
there. So that's 2,000
Wow.
potential coaches that could, be bringing in extra money, and also
Yeah.
helping with financial literacy, helping with, financial traumas, and yeah. So that's been germinating for a few months now. Um, but yeah, if you're interested in being part of that project, that because it would be a as I'm workshopping it, like there's the whole minimally viable product, the MVP, which is like, okay, this is like the prototype, but then like the grand
Mhm.
vision, is potentially pretty complicated. So I would require, like funding and things like that. So
Mhm.
it could be a pretty big project, but I'm trying to do the bare minimum to kind of get like I said, the prototype out there, and at least get the vision out there to see, okay, does this actually
Right.
make sense? So
Awesome, man. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate. Yeah, so I thank you for that feedback, we can keep talking offline and work on it, workshop it some more, and I'm always, because like I love
Yeah, for
talking to
sure.
other social workers, other financial social workers, and other change agents that basically are saying, hey, like we can do differently, we can do something different, so. Yeah, and it sounds like
Right.
you're doing, you're creating workshops, you're putting yourself out there in the community, and this is just another way for people like-minded people like us to kind of do that, and have a platform to do it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I in fact, I'm going to be more like you and have more of an online presence. I realize now that that's important to get the word out, like, this type of content.
mm,
In fact, I was on one podcast. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a professor, Dr. Boyce Watkins. I think he taught at Syracuse. He's a PhD in finance, and toward the end of our chat, he asked me, okay, well, where can people find you? What is your social media and this and that? And I had nothing to say. So I learned from that experience. Now I have, things so now I realize the importance of like putting out content. So I appreciate you even like starting a podcast, having a podcast, and putting this content out there. And I encourage a lot of social work. I encourage all social workers to, you don't always necessarily have to wait to find an opportunity or look for an organization that is doing what you're doing. If you see a need and you want to do something, you want to start it, you just get started. Just start doing it and just
mm,
start
yeah.
organizing. You know what I mean? Um,
Well, and that was.
like I said, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead. I'm
okay.
sorry.
I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say, and I was just thinking about it recently that, like, with online world being the way it is, like, and we are social workers. We literally, it's social is in our title, so like it kind of behooves
Sure.
us to be social, and social media is one of those platforms. So if we can advocate and help people with these platforms, and I was inspired by social workers rise and social worker rants, Baz Marino and Catherine Moore and all these other social work podcasts, because I was listening to those podcasts
Wow.
while I was commuting to my grad school, and in school, social work school. So like I was taking all this in, and I'm like, man, I love what they're doing. And then it just so happened that, like, so I got hooked up with the military broadcast radio, and that's kind of like where they taught me how to
Mhm.
basically create a podcast. So they're a nonprofit that helps veterans
Mhm.
create podcasts. And so I basically was like, well,
Mhm.
my idea is to help military members with their finances. And then it's kind of evolved into this whole fire
Mhm.
social worker thing. So it's been a crazy journey, but like, yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I know when I first started, I was just throwing everything at the wall, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just winging it, and
Right.
trying to make content about finances, and then just kind of evolved into financial social work. And I'm like, man, like there's this great community of like-minded people like me, like they're social workers and they're
Yeah.
interested in finance. And I'm like, I found my people, so I'm just
Right.
every time I talk about financial social work, I get super excited, and I'm like, the other challenge is that, like, there
Yeah.
aren't
Me too.
any real jobs with financial social work per se. So right now I'm basically doing
Sure.
financial social work just through an online platform. So um, yeah, so it's just been a
Right.
crazy journey.
Right. Yeah, and I listen. I want to listen. You built a fantastic platform, and like you said, you just got started. And and I realize now, which is in how Dynamic Justice Collective came about, similar to how the Fire Social Worker came about. It's just like, hey, just get started and just do it. And you don't
Mm,
have to know what you're doing. You just figure it out as you go. Just show yourself some grace. You're gonna make mistakes, learn from them, and just keep pushing. Just keep moving forward. That's the key. Just keep pushing.
mm, yeah, yeah, because like a lot of the social work school, like CSWE, like, there's a lot that they can't teach you everything, so there's a lot that we don't know
Mhm.
about until we get out into the real world of being a social worker. You're like, oh wow, this is not like school at all in some ways, you know. Um, but
Mhm.
I love that there's this community, you know, of like-minded social workers, and honestly, LinkedIn has been amazing. Like, you know, I connected with you via LinkedIn, and I honestly didn't even put much thought into LinkedIn for many years until the last like 5 or 6 months when I was like, oh wow, I've been holding out on LinkedIn. There's a lot of great opportunities here. You know, if anything, just to connect like this, you know, virtually. You know, hopefully we'll be able to
Right.
meet someday in real
Right.
life. You know, I love Philly, and I would definitely be trying to
Right.
travel down to Philly at some point, or up to Philly. But
Oh,
I'm
if you come up,
actually,
definitely let me know. Definitely let me know
yeah.
if you come to town. Definitely let me know.
Well, I'm actually going to be in New York City for the Social Work to Wealth Conference next month in October, October 10th and 11th. We're actually going to be
I
doing a
had no
road
idea
trip.
that this was a thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Social
on
work to wealth.
LinkedIn.
I had no idea.
Social Work to Wealth. Oh yeah. Um, it's actually been on LinkedIn a couple. So Eva Ford is the rich social worker. She was on you. She's, you know, got a YouTube channel, and she's like a coach. She turned me on to it, and yeah, it's in New York.
I
It's
know
next
that
month.
I know her. Okay, I've seen her channel. I know exactly who you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna look into coming to this. Okay, maybe we'll meet next
Yeah,
month.
that would be
Speaking of
awesome,
meeting,
man. That would be cool. But yeah,
yeah,
I'll
no
be.
bet.
We're actually going
Thanks
to be
for
doing a
telling me
road
about this.
trip.
I would have never
Yeah,
known.
of course, of course. We're
Awesome,
actually going to do a
awesome.
road
So
trip. We're going to drive to New York City. So we might actually, I don't know. I don't know how the road trip is going to go, but we're going to drive to New
you're
York
gonna
City.
well, yeah. So you'll pass by me. You got to pass through Philly to get to New York. So because you guys are going to be going up 95 most likely. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'll see you.
All right.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
great. That's gonna be great. So I'm gonna
That's
look into
cool,
that,
man.
and I
That's
want to
cool.
sign up for that. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for letting me
Yeah.
know about that. See, and this is why
Yeah.
these connections matter. You know,
Exactly. Hmm.
that's why they
Yeah.
matter.
So I wanted to ask you, like, you know, you've got a lot of irons in the fire. You mentioned that are you in professor as well, or what's your day job, I should say?
Yeah, so I'm a lecturer. So my day job is Sacred Realm Consulting, just doing my consulting work, uh, doing my we have a lot of workshops, school cohorts with Dynamic Justice Collective. So I'm also in the schools with that as well. We I do therapy as well, and you know, kind of moonlighting is that. I don't have a lot of clients, just like 10. I'm working towards my LCSW. I don't know if you're into that at all. If you're working
I mean,
towards
I
your
would like to
licensure.
be. I would like to be for sure.
Yeah. So I'm working on that, and also just some other businesses that I run, like with family and things like that. So I'm kind of uh, like I said, I'm more of a co-fi. So if and I do teach, so I do lecture. Right now I'm at Rutgers. Really like it there. I'll probably pick up classes in other places as well. But right now I'm more so leaning into the consulting piece, and that's really what's been I've been spending most of my time lately. That and Dynamic Justice Collective in our school cohorts and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot going on, a lot of projects and irons in the fire, and you know, I think from what I've seen, a lot of social workers, you know, we can't just sit still and just do one thing. We
Mhm.
we have to have many hats and do many things, and it's
Right.
almost like an addiction, you know. But it's all about helping people usually, you know. It's always, you
That's
know,
right.
trying to help and trying to make a difference, make the world a little bit better place. So you know, like when you see a social worker, just shake their hand, say thank you, because you know, you might not realize it, but they're probably thinking about 100 different things, and then thinking, you know, or they're thinking about a you know, a plan for their next counseling session or a group therapy session. They're brainstorming, like, what am I going to talk about for my next, you know, group therapy session. So it never ends. But in a good way, in
Very
a good
true.
way. Yeah,
Right. It's a lot of work, but it's very, very rewarding as well. It's very rewarding.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do anything else. Honestly, I wouldn't do anything else at this point.
Yeah.
And I actually, if you were to talk to a future hopeful social worker, let's say they're thinking about college, like you were never really considering it, but like what would you tell somebody to say, hey, social work, it actually could be a good fit for you, or if this is your kind of person, what would you tell them to tell them to come join us?
So you that's an interesting question, because usually most of the people that I kind of like sort of steer towards social work are people that sort of already have an interest in it. But then I know that's not true for most people, because I was a person who didn't have an interest in it, but didn't really know much about it. Just thought of it. In fact, it might have been stigmatized, like these people come and take your children away or something like that, because that is social work is stigmatized like that. But I think one of the biggest stigmas, being as though this is the Fire Social Worker podcast, one of the biggest stigmas with social work is that we do not get paid. And I talk to my students about that, and I always reference this 2009 study about that showed, there is a the higher your education is, the more educational attainment you have as a social worker, the more money you earn. But that's general to everything, to that stat in general, regardless of degree. But I also tell people that and you just have to be really creative. And I know also that the field doesn't make it easy for us, because it creates a lot of hoops for us to jump through. So LSW, LCSW, two totally separate tests, two totally separate fees that you have to pay, two tests you have to pay for. And so there's some things we need to clean up in social work, I think, to make it a little bit more, a little less of a gauntlet, and then I think in terms of licensing, some of the instructions and things like that is not very, you hear different things from different people, and it's very hard to find certain details on NASW's website and things like that. So we got a lot to do. But for people who are interested in the profession, or anybody who's not interested in the profession but like just likes helping people, you're an empath like me, and you just have a natural inclination to just be helpful and caring. I think this is definitely be the profession for you. And if you like personal finance, you can get into this too and still help people in that way as well.
There you go. Wrapped it all up in a nice little bow. That was perfect. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, man, Ken, it's been can you believe it's been an hour almost? We've just been going, and it's just been amazing conversation. We're definitely going to have you back on, and keep the conversation going. Okay. Now you have a chance to redeem yourself. Where can people find you on your different platforms, or are you still working on that?
Okay, so I'm still working on that. But you can find me Dynamic Justice Collective. That's www.dynamicjusticecollective.org. We do have an Instagram page up. We do have a LinkedIn page up. The Instagram, we'll start posting on that soon. Sacred Realm Consulting. The site is not live yet. It will be on my LinkedIn. Anybody, feel free to follow me and connect with me on LinkedIn. Ken Peeples, you can find me. Yeah, you can find Sacred Realm Consulting on LinkedIn. And the site will go live. And once it goes live, you'll obviously have access to it. So, and you can find me, you can find me on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is your main hub right now. And that's it's a great hub. Like it's a great way to connect with people for now. But then we definitely got some
Right.
projects going. So well, Ken, it's been a pleasure. Do you have any last parting thoughts? Anything you want to kind of like anything you want to say to the audience? One last thing.
Yeah, well, but anybody who's here listening, thank you for tuning in, and please support the fire social worker. Please support his work. Does great work with veterans, and thanks for having me. Like, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm really excited about the project you're working on, and I'm definitely will keep talking. We'll talk about that. Keep that conversation going behind the scenes, and yeah, I'll be happy to come back on anytime.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to conclude today's stream. We'll be uploading this pretty soon. And thanks again for everybody that's listening. And we'll catch you guys on the next stream.